Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Sathir Dance Podcast. In today's episode, I focus on the 19th century master composers for Bharatanatyam, the Tanjore Quartet. The details in this podcast are drawn from my essays. If you are interested in reading them, links are provided in the description below. Bharatanatyam practitioners hold Tanjavur in deep reverence. This historic region is rooted in the legacy of the 11th century Brihadishwara temple, the Maharajas of the Tanjavur court, and four esteemed dance masters, the Tanjore Quartet. Bharatanatyam, encompassing dance, music, musical instruments, languages, and many allied arts, once flourished here. I'll explore the repertoire shaped by the Tanjore Quartet, whose compositions were crafted as performances for the dynamic courtesans of their time. My focus will be specifically on the varnam compositions. These varnams are striking displays of artistic depth, danced in the palace darbar and within the royal seraglios. In the late 19th and early 20th centuries, the varnams moved into new settings, the intimate ambience of private chambers, reading rooms and garden parties, before eventually transitioning to the proscenium stage. The Maratha Bhonsle kings, who ruled Tanjavur for nearly 2 centuries, were renowned for their patronage of learning, literature, and poetic excellence. The kings cultivated dance and music to an exceptional degree. Among them, Maharaja Serfoji stands out as the most celebrated. His contributions to dance and music continue to resonate nearly 200 years after his passing. Courtly dance in 19th century Tanjavur became closely associated with four siblings who served as Naṭṭuvanārs. King Serfoji's enlistment of Chennai, Ponnayya, Sivanandam, and Vadivelu, now collectively known as the Tanjore Quartet, led to a major restructuring and refinement of the court's dance repertoire. Through exploration and experimentation with existing forms, they created a fresh performance sequence now known as the Mārgam. This format has shown remarkable vitality over time, evolving into a contemporary practice and continues to be danced. The brothers came from a lineage of musicians and dance masters dedicated to the Brihadishwara temple and the royal court. Precise historical details about their lives remain elusive. Much of what we know comes from oral accounts passed down through their descendants. Yet a small cachet of written records offers rare and invaluable glimpses into their legacy. Sons of Subbarayan Naṭṭuvanār, the brothers were born into a rich heritage. In their formative years, they trained with great discipline, honing their skills as dance masters. They entered the palace court around the year 1824. While still in their youth, Chennai was 22, Ponnayya 20, Sivanandam 16, and Vadivelu just 14. Subbarayan held the position of Naṭṭuvanār at the courts of 3 consecutive kings: Maharaja Tulaja II, who appointed him in 1780, Raja Amar Singh, who reigned until his deposition in 1798, and finally Maharaja Serfoji, who ascended the throne that same year. In the early years of his reign, King Serfoji initiated a new sequence of dances set to a unified raga, tala, and language. This new repertoire, composed in Marathi, comprised 18 items. The king himself composed the Nirūpaṇā Korvai, presumably as a deliberate effort to organize a pre-existing, somewhat disjointed body of dance songs into a coherent, purposeful sequence. In my interpretation, Serfoji collaborated with composers to create these Nirūpaṇās, while Subbarayan, along with other Naṭṭuvanārs, likely began reworking the Adavu groups to complement the new compositions. While Subbarayan fulfilled his duties in the palace, his 4 sons were growing up, receiving their early training from him. However, that training was brief. Subbarayan passed away in 1814. His sons, born between 1802 and 1810, were still young. Likely they were also trained by other Naṭṭuvanārs in their community. Muthuswami Dikshita provided the quartet with instruction in music and singing. Maharaja Serfoji's Nirūpaṇās reflect a remarkable degree of artistic brilliance, crafting a unified narrative around a single theme and merging Marathi with Carnatic music demanded the efforts of a scholarly composer working in close collaboration with Naṭṭuvanārs and courtesans of the highest caliber. Marathi compositions in the Paddhati of Carnatic music, set to South Indian Tala cycles, were already in vogue before Serfoji's reign. Yet the Nirūpaṇā marks the earliest known instance of linking dances into a deliberately sequential format. Even so, this format had a short lifespan, likely no more than 2 decades, from about 1800 to 1820. Its constraints were structural: 18 items composed in a single language tied to one ragam and talam. This often meant repetition, which may have affected the flow of performance. For the Naṭṭuvanārs, musicians and dancers, adapting these dense compositions into dance must have been a demanding task. By the 1820s, in response to King Serfoji's request, the Tanjore Quartet began re-evaluating the existing repertoire. Their efforts focused on restructuring older material, refining the Adavu system, and composing new items that reflected the courtesan's emerging 19th century aesthetic. As part of this creative process, the quartet condensed the Nirūpaṇā, a lavish all-night affair, into a refined presentation lasting about 3 hours. They introduced a variety of ragams and talams, making the format more suited for a range of settings beyond the palace alone. In reimagining this earlier repertoire, the quartet ensured that each dance piece progressed with clarity and intention, reflecting their deep artistic judgment, drawing on the materials and experience at hand to shape something both enduring and expressive. When the Tanjore Quartet reworked earlier repertoire, they placed the varnam at the heart of the performance. Their varnams are refined expressions of the art of erotica songs that weave expressive ragas with Sringara poetry. The earliest result of this transformation was the Padavarnam, Nee Saati Dora, set in Ragam Bhairavi. Its lyrics glorify the unparalleled greatness of Maharaja Serfoji. This piece, likely presented as a gift on the king's 50th birthday in 1827, was first performed at the Royal Darbar, where it received high praise. This innovative varnam not only brought the brothers acclaim at the Tanjore court, but also carried their reputation to the royal courts of Travancore and Mysore. In the late 19th and early 20th centuries, Nee Saati Dora retained its central place in the courtesan repertoire. But over time it gradually gave way to the lyrical adaptation Mohamana, which rose to prominence in the early 20th century. At the 47th Annual Conference of the Music Academy Madras in 1973, Tanjavur Kittappa and his brother Tanjavur Shivanandam gave a lecture demonstration on the dance compositions of their illustrious ancestors. It was a historically significant moment. Presiding over the conference that year was none other than the legendary Tanjore Bala Saraswati. Among other dances, their lecture featured Nee Saati Dora, with Kittappa reciting the jatis or rhythmic syllables. The royal courtesans of Tanjore played a vital role in shaping the Varnam through an intimate and highly effective collaboration with the Tanjore Quartet. While the four brothers composed the songs, it was the intense partnership with these skilled courtesans, true purveyors of taste and refinement, that brought the Varnams to life through their exquisite dancing and singing. In their Varnams, the Tanjore Quartet placed clear emphasis on Sringara Rasa, exploring human storylines of desire, separation and longing. Their Varnams revolve around the courtesan's intense yearning, whether for a king or a deity. Yet this portrayal of desire, separation and longing must not be mistaken for a passive damsel, endlessly waiting for a distant lover. Yes, the courtesan may pine, she may feel the sting of neglect as any of us would, but she does not wither. The Varnam, through its love stories, explores both physical and spiritual yearning, while also celebrating the brilliance, dignity and agency of the courtesan herself. She extols the virtues of her beloved, be it a king present in the court or a deity imagined into presence. She pleads, burns and expresses her longing without hesitation. And that longing, her emotional and physical need, resonates even today. Do we not all feel those so-called pangs of separation when apart from someone we love? The courtesan expresses all of this boldly, sensuously and without shame. She demands to be seen, to be heard, to be desired. The professional life of the Tanjore Quartet spanned several decades, but their years as a unified ensemble were in actuality short-lived. They had entered the royal darbar as Naṭṭuvanārs at the behest of Maharaja Sarfoji. But their privileged position at court did not last. Their relationship with the king grew strained, eventually leading to their departure from Tanjore. Around 1829, with Sarfoji's permission, the brothers left Tanjore. They later found employment in the royal courts of Travancore and Mysore. A few years later, in 1832, Sarfoji's son, Maharaja Shivaji, ascended the throne and invited the brothers to return to Tanjore. Vadivelu, however, permanently joined the court of Maharaja Swati Tirunal in Travancore, where he remained until he died in 1847. Chennai chose to stay in Mysore, where he served as Asthana Vidwan to Maharaja Krishna Raja Wadiyar and remained there until his death in 1856. Ponnayya and Shivanandam accepted Maharaja Shivaji's request and returned to the Tanjore court. Yet under the new king, they no longer worked as part of a unified quartet, and their influence gradually diminished. Shivaji's growing preference for music and dance from North and West India created distance between him and the brothers, eventually leading to their exclusion from the palace darbar. And yet, despite these divisions, all four brothers, likely for the last time, reunited as a quartet in February 1837 for the wedding of Maharaja Shivaji's eldest daughter, Princess Rajasabai. When Maharaja Shivaji died in 1855, it marked the end of an era, not only for the Tanjore kingdom, but also for the last surviving brothers. Shivanandam passed away in 1863 and Ponnayya in 1864. The Tanjore Quartet made lasting contributions to Bharatanatyam, shaping a legacy that courtesans across South India embraced and sustained well into the early 20th century. The descendants of the Tanjore Quartet played a vital role in safeguarding this artistic inheritance by publishing their ancestors' compositions in printed songbooks. While many composers from that era have faded into obscurity, the Tanjore Quartet's repertoire remains vibrant and cherished. Their artistic vision outlasted the courts they served. The dances they shaped, refined and passed on continue to echo through the Mārgam, a living legacy born of their shared genius. And that concludes this episode of the Sathir Dance Podcast. For those interested in reading my full essays, links are provided in the description below. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Join us next time, and goodbye for now.